Anthea.
Hi, Susie. Good to see you.
Good to see you, and welcome to the first of the series of Wilde Space. We're really excited, actually, and I'm glad that you are our first guest because we've got quite a few episodes that we're planning. And I know that you and I are going to talk about clean beauty because we can just talk about that with a lot of ease and knowledge. But the other conversations and topics we're going to be talking about are going to be about sustainability in the beauty industry, but also in general. Whether it be fashion, and we've got other guests who are going to be talking to us about wellness and other things that relate to what bothers us at Romilly Wilde. So it's not just about beauty, it's about integrity, it's about looking after our planet and everything else.
It sounds incredibly inspiring.
Well, I hope so. We've got some really good guests coming up, and I wanted to start with you. Would love for you to tell our audience, you know, what brought you to Romilly Wilde and a bit about Anthea.
I would love to. Background first, I suppose. I'm obviously, the accent will give me away. I'm Californian, but I've been in England for 24 years, so it's been quite a long time. My background is, career-wise, has been as a writer for 2 decades, mainly film, but you know, when you're a writer, you write, so anything that kind of washed up on shore. And then around, I'd say, 3 years ago, my mother had passed away, and I was really looking for something to supplement what I was doing in a very different way. And I'd been training in skincare for a number of years, but I really it was the push, it was the, you know, what really galvanized me, because I think writing, you know, as most would know that write, it's such an intellectual thing and you spend so much time alone. So I was really looking for something physical, something restorative, something where I could, you know, bring about healing to others. And I think it was the facial massage is kind of what attracted me at first. You know, going through watching my mother pass away, it really struck me the power in touch, in connection, in healing. And I think that, you know, I love skincare, of course, but it was also the touch and the sensory experience. And I wanted to do something where I could bring that to people and kind of have the instant feel-good factor, if you will, you know.
But a lot of that, but that must have been very instinctive in you anyway, because, you know, not everybody has that connection or that desire to have that connection on that physical level. So that must have been inherent to you.
Yeah, very much. I think I'm quite very sensitive to energies, and I'd like to think I'm a compassionate person. So I was always kind of 2 parts in that way. Quite cerebral, but then also quite into putting myself out there as and connecting with people on an, you know, just pure energy level. And I think, funny enough, so, you know, I got into skincare and I was being quite precise in terms of what I was looking for, because I didn't want to kind of start working for a brand that I didn't believe in. I'm not a natural salesperson. It really had to be something that spoke to me. And I remember going in for the, you know, when I met you, and I had been on a couple of interviews prior, and I remember texting my husband after, and I said, oh, it was instant. As soon as you opened the door, I could just feel your warmth, and I just knew that we had a similar ethos, you know, and it was, and just, you know, and I think, as I said, energy. I think that, you know, our energy.
Well, that's completely, and that's what I build my business on. You know, the people that work with me, it is about energy. And, you know, I guess, you know, without wanting to sound kind of too airy-fairy about it, it just is knowing that you're on that same intellectual level, that you're enjoying the same conversation. You know, if you boil it down to, you know, what makes that kind of energy is the fact that we're both bouncing off ideas off each other. But the thing that I guess I'm quite curious about from you know, an English bird is you grew up in California, and by the way, I sort of still think that California is just this dream boat of a place. Every place has its issues, I know that, and there's a lot of fake stuff about California, and there's a lot of fake stuff about everywhere, but But what do you think growing up in California inspired you or gave you kind of insights into how one could have a more kind of holistic upbringing? I mean, because I see that California, you know, North America, but California especially, have got quite a forward-thinking approach to wellness and healthy lifestyle. So do you think that must be embedded in your DNA to a degree?
100%. I mean, I grew up north in California, which is quite kind of forest meets the ocean. And you grew up as a young child, you know, part of my school classes were in tide pools at the beach, and my school was in the forest, and you'd hike on the weekends, and it was so steeped in every fiber of your being. It just was. And you kind of really became quite appreciative of nature, and it really bled into kind of all aspects of your life. And even, you know, the town near where I grew up called Big Sur, they were doing, you know, beekeeping and composting and artisanal craft making long before it became trendy. It was just a way of being. I knew people that were living off the land and had compost toilets, and that was very much kind of a Californian way of thinking, how you can live within the land without disrupting it.
Actually, it's really interesting because I've just come off listening to a live chat with Arizona Muse, and she's talking about sustainable farming, and actually that whole kind of appreciation and value that you can do it yourself. You don't have to rely on somebody else, you know. And it's that kind of there was a program, you weren't living in this country and you're probably too young, but it was called The Good Life over here, and it was about sustainability. It was, you know, in a backyard or an allotment or whatever, you can grow if you have the propensity and the desire to grow things. And I just think that, you know, that has power. I think that has kind of creativity, it has power, and it has wholesomeness. It's just the glory of nature around us. But going back a little bit, because when I found you and found out there was so much more to you than just, you know, the appreciation of the skeletal, of the anatomy, of the face, of therapy, of techniques, of energy and connection and skin care. There was definitely something that I felt that there was more to you than that you understood words, you understood how to put words together, obviously because of your background as a film writer, a screenwriter. So for those of you who are listening, as well as take advantage of Anthea's amazing therapeutic skills, I also use her brain and her knowledge to piece words together. And so everything that you read when it comes to our blogs, all of that content is written by Anthea's fair hand. And I think the subjects that we're embarking on, they certainly seem to be resonating with our audience, and especially now because Romilly Wilde is so bothered about things that go under the radar. And one of the things I know that you and I discovered firsthand when we were running the pop-up shop, and we never knew who was going to step in the store from one day to the next, right? And the thing that was consistent was that people were astounded by realizing what clean beauty should mean, and that a lot of brands are jumping on the whole clean beauty bandwagon. And my joke, and you probably heard me say this 1,000 times, is that there are some good brands out there, but they're cleanish, or they're, you know, 50 shades of clean. You know, there is clean washing going on, and when we spent time with these individuals and just said, look, you know, for us, and this is all that I can do, I'm not in control of what anybody else does. Our philosophy is that if you are going to say you are clean, that should mean that you would avoid anything that could be toxic, but also you would avoid anything that is synthetic, because anything that's synthetic, and those synthetics are things like polymers and acrylics and a host of whole others, they're not necessarily bad for you, harmful, they're just not going to benefit your skin. And so in the same way that if you're creating a nutritional recipe, you want to have a formulation for skincare that you know that every single ingredient in there is to benefit your skin. It's not there to bulk out a product and to make it sort of more of a mass, more, you basically, as a company, you make more money from making the product as opposed to giving better value to the customer. So I want to see those results. And when we conducted the facials, and you hands-on, because I didn't get involved with the facial therapies, but you hands-on saw the effect on people's skin of people who had never tried 100% clean plant energy before. And I just want to know how you felt that, you know, because obviously you've worked with other brands, you know, you've worked with other products, you've done this before, you've done this gig before. How did it really feel to you? As if, my God, this stuff really, how did it impact on you working with skincare products that seem to genuinely, you know, in front of your very eyes, you know, work?
I think, gosh, there's a lot there to unpack for sure. I think that part of what drew me to the brand first off was the no compromise, because I'm like you, I don't do things in half measure. It's either you do it or you don't. And I think for me, that was an amazing journey for not only myself to commit to saying, I want to be clean throughout my life, be it food, lifestyle, skincare. But what was so fascinating about the pop-up was that education for others in terms of, you know, just walking them through and finding out how they define clean and the products they were using, and really showing them what clean meant and what Romilly Wilde means when it means clean, which is no synthetics. And I think for people that was very eye-opening, especially, you know, I think a lot of people are misled and they think that everything has to be preserved synthetically. And so for starters, that was very eye-opening for people, that you could preserve a product in a natural way with things derived from nature. I think when it came to using it on people's skin, and what I've always said about this brand is, you have to feel it, you have to touch it, you have to smell it. It's, as hippie-ish as this might sound, it's a sensorial experience. And it was, even clients now outside of the pop-up, when I put it on their face, they just go a bit quiet, because they're so busy smelling it and feeling it and how the skin reacts to it. And even myself, I was never kind of a devoted one brand person, but you know me, I'm like a junkie, because I think once you see how your skin responds to something that has no chemicals to get in the way, it's transformative. I mean, it's not like, I know I sound like I'm on some home shopping network, but it's your skin truly works, you know, works with the product. And it just,
the way that you said that, and I use that, when you said that you've got no chemicals to get in the way, that is a thing, because your skin responds so positively, because there are no synthetics to bulk it out, which are not to aid any health benefits to your skin. So the formulations get straight to work, and this sort of pure energy is kind of like surged into the skin, as well as that enjoyment, that therapeutic, you know, element of the smell, and you know, people are used to white skincare, right? They're not used to a cream that is, you know, bright orange or apricot in color or something like that. So you're right, it's not having to bypass all of these bulkers and fillers and synthetic things.
And I think they want purposeful ingredients. They want actives. They want something that does something, but they want it, you know. I think the beauty of this, you know, Romilly, and what attracted me is that it does both. It's green, it's without compromise, it's clean, but it's active. And at my age, I don't want to just put avocado on my face. I want to, you know, invest in something that I know is going to work, but is also, you know, adhering to the ethos that I've kind of set out for myself. And I think that means a lot to people.
Well, I think that you can have a clean skincare brand, which is next level natural, but it doesn't have to be hippie Whole Foods. You know, because of the extravagance of the sorts of high quality concentrate of ingredients that we use, that for sure bulks the price up, because I'm not putting those polymers and those acrylics, and then you put water in the front end and it's just knowing that it's kind of, you've only got one skin, right? And we know that aging is a factor. There's not, you know, the lifespan of our skin cells is the lifespan of our skin cells, but we can change the metabolism and the health of those skin cells. So, and I think all of that positivity comes from, I mean, sometimes I forget I'm actually making products, because it's more like the conversations that we're finding as a result of people sort of, you know, scratching their heads and saying, God, I didn't know that. So I didn't know that when I look at the ingredient list, that's what that means. Or, you know, so for example, because everything I believe, I want to have a relationship with something I put on my face. I want to enjoy it. I don't want it to smell of nothing or of blandness or beige or, you know, nature has vibrancy. Nature has scent. It has color. It has nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not, you know, stripping at source all of those, you know, integral parts, which is what is all about. I'm going to throw a really wild card question in for you, Anthea.
Okay.
Forgive me, but I've just thought about it, and I thought it should be quite cool for everyone if they thought about this too. And that is, when you hear the name Romilly Wilde, what does that evoke in you?
For me, and I've definitely thought about this. For me, it's freedom. It's freedom of choice, freedom to explore who I am, freedom to be who I want to be. It's a little bit spiritual. It's a little bit wild. It's a little bit, you know, the girl inside of me before she had to completely be responsible or routined, or, you know, the flower child in me. I think that's, you know, very much of how I grew up. And I think it's a spirit. It's kind of an intangible, you know, freeness is how I've always looked at it.
I love that. I'm so glad this is being recorded, because I want to use that. But I think as well as the because everybody has a very similar feeling when they think of Romilly Wilde and the name and what it provokes and therefore evokes in them. But I'm just curious, because obviously the name came from in here and in my heart and in my head, and just felt right for the purpose of what we're trying to do here. But ultimately, I think it just is something that is, I don't know, we'll just have to watch the space as far as, you know, what Romilly Wilde will do next, and the conversations that we'll continue to have from here. But I just wanted to talk to you about, you know, we talk about fragrance. We have got a fragrance called Idol. Even though we are a skincare brand, I'm not a perfume brand. I'm just obsessed by scent. Do you think that it is something that wraps up the brand in a nice way, that we can have something that is, because, you know, perfume is a whole different, scent and perfume and the sensory olfactory system is something that is entirely built from memories, right? So if you can think of a scent that makes you think of California, I'm imagining it's kind of like ozone, is it? Or is it more forest? For me, if you think of,
yeah, for me, it'd be quite woodsy. I'm wearing Idol now, by the way.
Of course.
It's very, for me, it would be earthy, woodsy, grounded. It would be something that, you know, I've never been a big perfume wearer, because unless it blends in with my skin and it doesn't overwhelm me, I don't like it. So I think that I'm quite particular. And I think that it fits nicely in the line because it's sensorial, but it's not overwhelming. It does feel like the other products, where it's not, you know, none of the products when you use them overwhelm you or feel fake. And I think people are really moving away from that. They want things that actually smell like what they find in nature, you know, and they don't want, there's such a distinct smell about something synthetic. And, you know, I think the perfume is subtle.
Totally. And I don't want to be, you don't want to be, it can't be obtuse, you know. Perfume should not be something that walks in front of you when you walk into a room. It should be part of your subtle kind of, you know, air of you, as opposed to this kind of like ego that takes over. And I think the same applies, I think. But I think that's hopefully where the world is going, that we're trying to connect more with nature in general. And I think that probably is, you know, I'd like to think that we were probably a few years ahead when it came to, you know, understanding that trend in desire for, you know, next level natural, next level organic, that is clean beauty, according to us. But then, you know, just really having people enjoy that whole experience, and also ultimately it's safe, right? It's not going to compromise. You know, we don't compromise we're not compromising from our perspective about what goes into the product, but you're not compromising the user, because you're not compromising your health, because there's not something hidden in there that actually might cause, you know, worse level build up, not very good in your system to have plasticides or petrochemicals. Clearly, you know, our body wasn't designed to have to process that. But, you know, otherwise it's just kind of like low level irritation or just plain not working. And that's just like wasting everyone's time. And I'm impatient. I want this to work for me. So
I think I think people are doing their homework. People know what they want now. And I think people, you know, we've discussed at length greenwashing and all the terms that are bandied about, but people will do their own research, and they know they can see through the ones that claim to be natural or green or all these things, and they understand. I think that people are understanding to look beyond the label of fragrance, and they're, you know, they're really studying the INCI list to see what's in their products. And I think that's
right,
so
but
important.
I'm still surprised how little they know about synthetics. They know about the harmful toxic ingredients, because you know, the word non-toxic I know is what it's called in America, and here we've our version of that is clean, and again it's been much more accepted now as to that is a European version of non-toxic, and toxic basically is skull and crossbones, right? That is kind of like, you know, you will perish if you have it. This is seriously harmful. You know, so I'm very careful about the word of toxicity and toxic, but essentially people are used to that phraseology of, okay, so they have like two areas that they comprehend: toxic, which are those, you know, the parabens, the petrochemicals, all of those ones that a lot of people will avoid a handful of. Synthetics, which aren't spoken about at all, which are the ones that, you know, are just these bulkers, these fillers that just are there to give like a texture to a product, and there's a huge percentage of those because they have this ability to go up with volume when you add water to it, a bit like polystyrene or something. You add water and it kind of like expands. So these are basically cheap fillers. And then so the first ingredient will be water. You know, we don't use water as our first ingredient. We would never do that. And it just is just kind of like, come on guys, let's do this in the most beautiful way. It does mean it's more expensive, but ultimately that does mean that it's gonna actually, you're investing in stuff that is good. It's good, and it's not, and I'm not allowed to use this word fake shit, but you know, I wish I could.
But it applies.
Hashtag no fake SH1T.
I think now more than ever, people are starting to realize that everything is interconnected. And even with what's going on currently and how nature is responding and flourishing. And I think it's giving some people, even the skeptics out there, making them take pause and see our impact on the planet, and, you know, how nature is kind of, you know, taking over a bit at the moment, because we've pressed pause, you know. And I think that I'd like to think that if anything comes out of this, it's a bit more compassion for our fellow human beings, but it's also a compassion for nature, that we are all in this together. It is all linked, it is all interconnected. So I think for me and for you, because I would like to think I could, you know, we're like-minded in this. Clean is not just en vogue. It's a commitment, and it's a commitment for a reason. And it's not, you know, I don't do it lightly because it's in fashion and I find it fun. It's like, I do it because I really believe that everything is linked. And I also believe it's my skin responds, my body responds. I feel better for it, you know?
So yeah, no, I think it's great to have you as part of the journey, Anthea.
Thank you. I love being part of the journey.
Now, and I know I'm not putting you on the spot again, because I am asking all of my contributors, all of my guests to bless us with a quote that you feel resonates with you right now. So do you mind sharing that with us, please?
Of course. I went the writer's route, and English at that. It's by Shakespeare. And it says, "The earth has music for those who listen." And that was one I've always loved, because I just think it's so true. I think there's, especially now, you just open the window and listen, and you know, it speaks volumes. So that was always one that resonated with me.
Sweet. That is sweet, and that is wonderful, and that has got me right in the heartstrings. I'm a bit emotional now, what have you done to me? Oh, well, listen, sweetheart, thank you for your time.
Of course.
So nice speaking to you, and look after yourself, and hopefully we'll be in touch, because we work together, right? So
yeah,
there'll be other stuff we'll be doing really soon. But listen, I really appreciate you sharing that with our audience and being part of this in a proper, substantial way, because I'm proud of you and what you contribute. So thank you, Anthea.
Oh, thank you. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Lots of love to the family.
Bye.